What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today we're going to be taking a look at the subreddit entitled Parents, which is basically what happens when Karens have kids. Regardless, every story on this subreddit is pretty damn entertaining if you ask me, and it should be pretty enjoyable. So yeah, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy, and let's get into it. I got eyes like an eagle, stacking so much money you would think that it's illegal. I'm getting quiet now, laying low when you reach zone, wiping down, making out, stack the bread, cause you love the sound, just someone. Alright, yeah, let's get into some Karen being Karens and have some fun. My entitled mother gets mad when I refuse to let her kid feed my cat chocolate. Today we got together for Valentine's Day and we were having a good time until my step-grandma pulls up without a mask and her 6-year-old kid with his sticky tablet. So we were all unwrapping Valentine's Day gifts when my cat decides to walk in, as she's very social. She gets up on the couch and this kid decides to give her a piece of chocolate. Of course, she starts to eat it and I immediately run over there and forcefully take it out of her mouth, and I tell the kid to never feed a cat chocolate because it can poison her, and I take the cat into my room so it doesn't happen again. The mom says, "Well, why did you do that? He just wanted to play with her. A little bit of chocolate won't hurt her." And I told her that chocolate can poison cats again, and she says, "Well, I'm sorry, but I feel that we need to leave if you're gonna be disrespectful to my family." And she left while stomping out like a 5-year-old and slamming the door. We stood there appalled by a crazy bitch until she said, "Well, let's just continue with the presents. We don't need her anyways. At least I got some Kit Kats." Excuse me? Are you seriously gonna sit here and tell me that you don't want my son to poison your animals? I feel like that is very selfish, and I'm gonna be telling your father all about this when you get home. Consider that, young lady. Thought I would share my most interesting run-in with some entitled parents from when I was a kid. So, the parents in this story are my best friend's parents and an overprotective stay-at-home mom and an ex-cop. We were around 12 or 13 at the time, and we were going out to a restaurant with a pretty random group of people from our school. I didn't really know most of these people, but I went because their kid was going. After we had eaten, someone said that there was somewhere else to hang up, and we ended up at the Shisha bar. Obviously, being a kid, I got bored and called my mom to come pick me up. Some of the others stayed and ordered some stuff to smoke, but that wasn't any of my business. Around half an hour or so later, I was in my room when my mom comes upstairs to berate me because apparently I was smoking at the bar. Very confused at first, but I explained I wasn't smoking and she calmed down. My mom then began to explain how this mother had called her up in a fit because someone saw all of us there smoking, and when my mom asked who that someone was, she says it's a couple of his old buddies he put up to make sure T and I are okay. The entitled mother ended up saying their names but neglected to mention that they were cops. Side note, my dad worked at the airport at the time, which meant he worked late nights and also knew a lot of the police where we're from. When he came home later that night and my mom filled him in, they were able to put the pieces together and figured out that the entitled parents had police following me without any consent. Maybe they thought my parents would be okay with it because blind trust in our police or something. My mom called the entitled mother the next day and calmly explained that they're not okay with police following their kid, and the mom took it surprisingly well and apologized. When I talked to T about it at school, he was really embarrassed and apologized for his parents at well, but apparently the entitled parents had called every parent they knew, even going as far to tell some of the parents that their children are bad influences to their little angel T. He got bullied for this at school, and some people even blacklisted T, saying he was never invited anywhere again. Anyways, I had fallen out with T through the years, but I called him up 2 to 3 years ago when his father passed away and we went out to grab coffee. He handed me a tobacco pouch and asked him to roll him some ciggies, and then chain smoked all the tobacco while we were there. Ironic, but there's probably a moral in there, like trust your kids or something like that. Yeah, okay guys, we did hire the police to follow all of our children, but it's only because your children are bad influences. Sure, they all went together and stayed, but listen, it was your guys' fault in the first place for even thinking about doing something bad. Parents like this are so annoying. This deadass actually happened to me. I don't remember all of it, but I thought I should tell it anyway. Back when I was 4 or 5, I used to live near this squad of kids, all in one family. Both of our families always had some beef with each other, and we always got into some kind of fight with each other. My siblings against theirs or their parents, but one day I was just sitting outside and all of a sudden they decide to attack me. Remember, I'm 4 or 5, so I'm screaming and crying and my entire family comes outside to help, and my father has a handgun pulled and readied, and my stepbrother gets a rock and throws it at the oldest sister. She gets hit and starts bleeding and they run, and not even 20 minutes later the police come with the other parent. They said that we came and attacked them and we should be sued and go to prison for assault, but here's one part I remember perfectly. perfectly. The police said the mother had a video of it. It was their kids pretend fighting. So my father tells them to come into their secret room, and inside was camera monitors that were on during the assault. The parents were screaming and calling my parents liars, trying to attack them like they did me. One even pulled a pocket knife on my father. The police learned the truth and arrested the parents, and I don't remember what ended up happening to the kid, and in the end, I don't trust very well because of that, and I hardly leave my room, let alone my house, and we moved quite a few times because of that. Well, you know, I can honestly say that Karen was pretty rough, don't get it twisted, but I got some banger YouTube videos out of it, and she never tried to stab me. I will give her that. You know, there are silver linings. This happened when I was 5 years old, and most of the details I know were told to me by my parents. I'm 17 now, but back when I was 5, our house was under renovation, so we were living in this entitled mother's house on rent. This house had 2 stories, and the staircase to the second story was the inside of the house, not the outside. We only rented the first story as we didn't need the second one, and obviously it came with extra charges. The entitled mother installed a door and locked it, so we couldn't go there, which was fine because we only rented the first floor anyway. She was a disrespectful and shameless person as she could get, and she would always show up and live in the second story. And since the only kitchen was downstairs, she would expect us to feed her. And for some reason, my mom always did. She lived with her daughter, but apparently the mother herself was a severe diabetic, and her own daughter had many restrictions on the food she eats. So she would show up here and eat whatever she wanted because we couldn't say no, and we also couldn't put any restrictions on her. All of this was fine, but once or twice she ate the food that was kept aside from my mom, who hadn't eaten yet because she was busy keeping everyone fed before eating herself. The entitled mother ended up doing this after eating her own share without even asking permission to eat. This infuriated my dad a lot, but he couldn't say anything as she was the landlady and pretty elderly. The worst thing she did was when her daughter's house was put under pest control, so her daughter, her 2 children, a boy and a girl about the same age as me, and their maid all showed up to live here, which technically isn't even allowed if we weren't renting the second story, but my kind parents just decided not to say anything. During this time, my mom happened to be 9 months pregnant with her due date nearing, and my grandma had come over from a different state to help take care of the baby. My mom has asthma and was feeling sick and had a lot of problem breathing, and all of this on top of being heavily pregnant. In the morning, she was feeling bad, so my dad took her to the hospital, and she ended up getting admitted, which meant my grandma was taking care of me that day. The entitled mother was pissed and disappointed because my mom didn't cook for them and her whole family, even though they brought their own maid along with them. She decided to complain to my grandma, who was a really sweet and kind woman, and berate her that you didn't raise your daughter well, how could she leave without cooking for my family, that's irresponsible and disrespectful, and my grandma, being nice, just took it and didn't say anything. Another time, she brought over her GS, I'm not sure what that stands for, who swore she was the nicest, most well-mannered boy, or grandson. The minute he entered the house, he created problems at some point, and he decided to take away my packet of chips and run away with it, and I just sat there and cried because I was a timid child at the time. She ended up defending her grandson, saying that as they are guests and he is older, that I should share and be nice, and my mom had enough at this and ended up yelling at the grandson and asked him to give back what's mine. Alongside with the rent, my parents also paid her a separate amount of money, which you typically pay to the owners for any damages that might occur during tenancy. If there are none, usually the owners return it when your tenancy ends. She ended up taking the money and refused to give it back, saying we severely damaged her house. My dad used to be at work all the time. My mom was pregnant and didn't really have the time or energy to wrestle with the house. And I was a very quiet and well-kept kid who kept to myself often, and the damage she claimed we did was also very high and near a ceiling, which we, especially me, couldn't have even reached. The entitled mom was a Catholic just like my family and berated them, saying that they weren't good Christians several times, and this was after we had moved back to our own house, which was now close to the one that we rented. She was notorious for showing up at the houses of other Catholics in the community at lunchtime and just barging in expecting to be fed, and wasn't kind or nice, so nobody liked her. Wow, I wonder why nobody liked her. It's almost like she sounds like a very horrible person to be around, dude. I'm telling you, people like this, they really just surprise Pikachu at the fact that nobody wants to hang out with them when they roll around acting like this. You guys seem to like my other post about my entitled aunt, so here's another. I've always been above average in a lot of things, which bothers my aunt to no end, which then leads to her pushing my cousin too far, and at this point, my cousin and I are both sick of my aunt ruining her mental health over trying to make her better in things things than me and things that she doesn't care about. Grade 8 is the year that we have the option to apply for an IB school, which is basically a gifted program into high school. We have an English and French version, but French is seen as the more prestigious program, and my parents made sure that my first language was French so I'd get a head start and hopefully when I'm older get better jobs. My cousin, on the other hand, started immersion in grade 3 and her French isn't the strongest. So we end up both applying to this program because my parents asked so I had the option, and my cousin because she was forced to, and we get applications back and my cousin got 4th quarter waitlisted, which means almost 100 people have to drop out. My aunt's not happy with this, so what does she do? She calls from my cousin's phone to berate me, of course. The entire time she was calling me a bunch of awful words that I had to cut out because it's censored, essentially making fun of me for my sexuality. Anyways guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought. It would be much appreciated. And if you're new, subscribe and be sure to turn on those notifications so you never miss another post. If you guys want more content, I do have a podcast called the SKUFFED. You can find a link to that in the description down below. No pressure though. And if you like the intro song, a link to it on Spotify is also down in the description. And yeah, last but certainly not least, we gotta go ahead and give the members a shout out. If you want a member shout out, all you gotta do is click the join button next to subscribe down there. You get a verified check mark next to your name and a shout out at the end of every video. So yeah, without further ado, let's give a big shout out to Cosmic Ramen, Christian, Candy Rose, Taco Man, Caveman Blank, Jacob, Eli Garrett, Sam Brody, Ultra Radish, Raymond, Michael Savage, Pepe the Gamer, Bullseye Ben, Michael Harris, Cyrus, Nick, Hex, Philip, Flofty, Kanye, Wiro, Lackey, Hallspy, Caden, Jinx, Carrot, Calvin, Kinsta, Franklin, Random Bot, Rose, Zach Bobbin, Trash McGee, Toasty, Ansel, Tom, Knees, Duts, Kim, Home Gang, Dashy Boy, DJ Legend, Antug, Alex, Tendons, Coleman, Typical Panda, Master Milks, Aaron Love Scrubs, William Dubois, Rosento, Mackenzie, Geo, Plaz, Jellybean, Woofles, Benedicti, Brandon, Flawed Phoenix, Dylan Chungus, Unreal Decoy, Sebastian Bees, Johnny Dude, Cosmic Ramen, Fabulously Terrifying, Chandler Lewis, Ryuki, and Why So Blurry. Thank you all so much for being members. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.